One, can you see my screen? Hey, you just joined?
Hey, Todd, it's Vince. We're in San
Hey,
Diego.
how's it going?
Good. I've got Maria and I've got Danielle here also.
Okay. Can you all see my screen right now?
It looks like it, yes.
Okay, good.
I can't read. Hang on one second. I'm
Hey, Todd, I
blind.
cannot see your screen. It actually says it's waiting for waiting to view your screen.
Okay, yeah, I've got to click on this. Hey. Can you see our screen, Todd?
I don't need to see yours. I was just wondering if you can see mine.
I believe so. It says waiting to view Todd Milner's screen. Should I close this box and go to meeting viewer?
Yeah, I'm sharing mine, so I think it says no one sees your screen. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Hold on a second.
Okay. So I can see we're on the audio screen here. Let me go to the there we go. Looks like we're getting something.
Can you guys see it now?
Yeah, we're good here. Are you logged into Central?
Yeah.
We're good
Yeah,
here.
so you see the screen with the contact history report, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, so let me go back to VisionLink. So who's working on the helpline this year? That's on this call.
I've got Maria and Danielle.
Okay. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I heard you both have tax VITA experience. Is that true?
I have VITA experience, yes. I'm former IRS.
Former IRS. So you have the tax knowledge locked down. It's just the other stuff that you need to get a training on, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when we start up next week, and if you still feel like you're not 100% ready to go, don't worry about that. Next week's going to be very, very slow. So we still have plenty of time to keep training. What we're going we're going to need to keep training next week too, because the quality assurance program isn't 100% ready yet. I'm still working on some of the scripting and all that other stuff. So today we're just going to cover the client intake process. Did you guys already get does everybody have their VisionLink logins and they have access to their accounts?
Have you guys received it through your email?
No.
We haven't received them yet, no.
Okay. Let me actually, all right, well, we'll take care of that in a second, or at the end of this call, actually. I'll show you, I can actually show you right now what to do. So we're on the URL. It's myfreetaxes.communitydos.org, and these instructions are in that guide that I emailed you guys. You just click on this sign up link right here, accept your terms, and fill out the form according to the instructions in the guide. And then your request will be submitted to Amanda in Escambia. She has to manually approve the request, and then you're good to go. So don't worry about that right now. I'll get you set up after this call so you can do some practice calls on VisionLink if you want to take a look at everything yourself that we look at today. And I'm sure, Vince, you've already explained VisionLink to them, right? Because you guys either used to use it or still use it there for 211 San Diego.
We've already set up our accounts. We just don't have the email for our access, like for our user ID and password to any of the systems.
Okay, so you already registered, but you haven't received confirmation yet.
Correct.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll make sure Amanda gets that taken care of today. But as far as Vince, you've probably given them like a quick rundown of what VisionLink is, right?
A basic one right there. We were going to go into our VisionLink, but we stopped because ours is just a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So My Free Taxes, this portal is very basic, I would say, is probably the best description compared to other 211s that use VisionLink. So if you looked at what San Diego uses, it's not going to be as complex as that. This is basically just a way to do client intake. So we just capture as much demographic data as we can from each caller, and we kind of tag the call with the reason that they're contacting us. And then you would also use this program to look up information that might help you do your job. But the gist of this is that it's just a client intake form. So I'm going to log in, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so this is the main screen. When you log into your VisionLink account, I would actually just keep it here. The menu up here, there's 4 options. It's Home, which will take you right back to the screen we're looking at. The client intake form is where all of your data entry is going to take place. Reports you might not even have access to. That's probably an admin feature. And dashboard, honestly, I don't know if you have access to that too. So you might just see Home and client intake. What you want to do, though, when you log in every day to VisionLink or Community OS, those terms are used interchangeably, although most people use VisionLink for this project more than Community OS. You should always keep this to the home screen, and the reason I'm telling you that is because this program is synced up with VisionLink, the phone system. Whenever you take an inbound contact, whenever you answer a phone call or a chat, you're going to get a screen pop on the VisionLink software, and it's going to show you a new intake screen. So the way to not get your intake screens confused would be to keep your main login screen set on the home page, because otherwise, if you click client intake and then a call comes in and you get another client intake form in front of you, you might not know which one you're supposed to be filling out. And I'll show you. I'm going to do a live demo of how those screens pop out when you take a call. So just sit tight for that. So there are, and by the way, if you guys have any questions while I'm talking, just totally interrupt me and ask. This is very informal. Anything that pops in your head, even if it's not related to VisionLink, if you have any other questions about the job, just let me know. So the VisionLink intake form, or this software program for this project, there's 4 main reasons that you're using it. One is the client intake, and we'll go over all these fields individually. You're collecting information about the contact, and then in some cases, you're trying to capture client demographics in this area. The second main reason is you're trying to record information about why people have contacted us. So there are a whole bunch of quote-unquote referrals down here that you would tag a call with. If like for right here, if somebody's calling because they're looking for assistance on how to create an account, you would select that and log your transaction with that reason for contact right there. The third reason would be you're accessing this software because you want information to use for your job. So all of these tabs here have extra information on how to assist clients. or instructions on how to use the intake form or how to distribute key codes. And the key code distribution, that's the fourth main reason why you're using this software. So let's just go over these one by one to give you a better understanding of what each of those main tasks is. You know what, let me actually do the live demo first, because let's kind of cover this the way it actually happens on the job. So I'm going to try and walk and chew gum at the same time and call myself on in contact. All right. And I might as well show you this while I'm dialing myself. So every day you're going to log into your email and in contact in VisionLink, and when we actually open, you're going to start handling calls and chats. So if you can see right down here, I'm calling myself, and my agent interface just opened up, and I'm answering that with another call. And the very next thing that's going to happen is that I'm going to get a screen pop here. So I've already logged into VisionLink, so it knows that because the two systems are talking to each other, that since I'm handling that contact in contact to launch a new VisionLink intake form. And you can see over here some of the data from in contact is populated automatically. So this is kind of how the two systems match one another for reporting purposes. Some of these fields aren't filled out. That's just a technical problem that we have to cover today or before we launch. But usually you'll at the very least have your master ID field filled out and your caller entered zip code. One word of warning with these screen pops, if you have a default internet browser set to your computer, the screen pop will always appear on that default browser. So if your default browser is Internet Explorer, it's going to open in Internet Explorer. If you don't have a default browser, then it's going to open in whatever browser you're logged into with in contact. So I'm logged in with Chrome, and my screen popped in Chrome. The possible problem that you might experience the very first contact you handle is that if you're either not logged into VisionLink when you first take your first call on in contact, or if you're logged into a different browser than your default browser. Let's say your default browser is Internet Explorer, but you're logged into in contact on Chrome. You're going to get a screen pop in a browser that you're not currently logged into on VisionLink, and the very first screen that you're going to see when you get that screen pop is this login screen. And it's okay if that happens. You just have to log into your account, but it might be kind of flustering because you're expecting to see the intake form. So just be prepared for that. Make sure you're logged into all of your systems before you take a call, and just double check your browser settings to make sure that you know, when you do handle a contact in contact, the right browser opens with the intake form. So I'm going to go back to my intake form. So I'm taking a call. I still have an active contact. Actually, no, I just made the same mistake that I warned you about. So I have a couple browser windows open right now, and I know this isn't the right one because there's nothing here in the master in contact field. This is probably the screen that I should have kept on the home. So here's the right screen. So I'm just going to go down each demographic or each data field and explain what each one of these means. If you don't absorb all of what I'm saying right now, that's totally fine because the instructions are right up here in the tab. But if you have any questions while we go through these, again, just let me know. There's two main client sections that you're trying to complete all the data for. What you want to do is start in the upper left and just kind of work your way down, and then if you need to get to this section, you're going to go there next. But every single contact is always going to start up here in the upper left. I added this test training field just in case you wanted to do a couple training exercises before you start taking real calls. That's the only reason that you would fill this, that you would complete this field. Otherwise, it's totally irrelevant to your job. So up here you have a media type. The first thing you need to do is just distinguish what it is. It's a phone call. Choose that. Chat, email, voicemail. You will probably only have phone calls and chats assigned to you right off the bat, but then you might start taking email contacts eventually. So I'm going to leave this as a phone call because that's the way my call came in. Contact type is, there's two options here. There's a standard contact and a no data contact. Standard means that you actually connected with another human being, whereas no data means when you picked up the phone, there was nobody there. You didn't get anything out of your caller, like not even their zip code, before the connection. You have nothing to report here. So that's why you would select no data. I don't want to say drawback, but I don't really have another word for this, so I'm going to say drawback to VisionLink is that, at least with this portal that they created for My Free Taxes, is that there's no trigger mechanism with these fields. So the way that I would like it to work is if it were a no data call, and this would make total common sense. If it were a no data call, then everything else would just kind of gray out, so you wouldn't have to fill it out. But that's not the case. You have to fill out every single form. They're all mandatory. You can see the little red asterisk next to every single field. So if
we're starting, Todd, you were starting to build my hopes up there. I thought we had an auto pop.
No. No, we do not.
All right.
Yeah, I guess is that the case with your VisionLink?
The same thing. We got to check 28 boxes before we can close ours.
Okay. Well, at least you're used to it.
Yeah.
So with every single field, there are instructions up top. And again, there's that whole tab over here that has instructions on how to fill this out. But I tried to make this as common sense as possible. So if your contact type is a no data contact, then nothing else needs to be filled out. So all you need to do is select not applicable for every single field. Some of these are text boxes, so you just follow the instructions on what to do for no data contacts. So right here it says first name, must ask caller for first name once. If not given, type refused. For uncollected or no data contacts, type none. So I'm going to type none. I didn't get a zip code because I didn't speak to anybody, so I'm just going to put 99999. You get an error message telling you that's an erroneous zip code, but you can totally disregard that. You can save the form anyway. And the ultimate error that you'll come to if you don't save all of these mandatory fields is that you're not going to be able to save your intake form, which is bad because there has to be a one-to-one match with every single contact you handle, every single person you assist. There has to be a matching intake form in VisionLink. But otherwise, these drop-down menus, they all have not applicable. So it's kind of a slam dunk to get a hang-up or an unanswered chat because all you have to do is fill these out. You just have to make sure that you're filling out the right ones. Some people might accidentally, drop their mouse on multiracial for someone's race when you didn't speak to anybody. So you want to take your time when you fill these out. Don't worry about time constraints. Accuracy is more important than speed with this project. So just make sure that everything is filled out exactly the way it should be. And again, you can fill out every single form correctly if you just read the fine print here. There's no way to make the print bigger. So if you can't see what I'm showing you right now, I apologize. It'll look slightly bigger on your own screens, but honestly not that much. So I'm going to go back to the upper left here and just go down each field. So you have your contact type. That's pretty straightforward. First name, again, is also very straightforward. I'm going to change this to a regular call. Zip code, if I actually did type in a real zip code, the software will automatically populate the city, county, and state down here. when somebody calls and gives your zip code, you just want to verify that it's the right one. If they give you a zip code that spans 2 different areas, I don't know if this is one of them, yeah, you're going to have to confirm where they actually live. So if this caller were actually calling me from this zip code, I would say, is that Cleveland or Shaker Heights? And if they said Shaker Heights, I'd select that, and it would populate all the necessary fields here. So the next 2 fields are, they're a way for us to kind of whittle down our client base to determine who actually needs to have their demographics collected, because we're not trying to ask these demographic questions of every single caller. Our objective is to only ask these questions of first-time people, first-time callers or chat clients who are contacting us this year in 2016. So if somebody called us last year and then they're calling us again this year for assistance, we would try to collect demographics. But if somebody called us in February of 2016 and they already called us in January of 2016, we wouldn't have to bother with any of this. So this is how you determine whether or not somebody's demographics, you need to attempt to collect somebody's demographics. So after you've determined whether it's an actual contact, meaning you're speaking to another person, the next question you would ask them is, are you actually using the MyFreeTaxes software to complete your return? A lot of people will contact us for tax assistance and they're not actually using our software. So this is something that you need to establish right off the bat, because otherwise, if you start helping somebody do their taxes and then halfway through a 40-minute call you've realized that they're not using our software, it will have turned out to be a huge waste of time. Some people also think they're using our software because they've Googled, free tax, and they've landed on Free Tax USA or My Tax Free or whatever, and they don't even know that they're using the wrong product until until you're telling them go to the green screen with the W-2 plus sign, and they have no idea what you're talking about because their screen's red. So it's good to establish this right off the bat. The very first thing you should ask after they tell you why they're calling and you ask for their name and their zip code, you say, are you using the MyFreeTaxes software to complete your return? There are 2 exceptions to this. So this is how we're whittling this down to get to the demographics. The 2 exceptions to people who are not using MyFreeTaxes but can still get our assistance are people who are contacting us for VitaSite referrals. And you guys are both familiar with Vita, right? You know what the Vita program is all about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
They both, yes.
So we provide VitaSite referrals just by going to the IRS VitaSite locator tool and looking up free sites within a 5-10 mile radius. And then we also refer those callers to 211 because 211s have way more extensive information about those tax sites than we do. So a VitaSite referral would qualify as a MyFreeTaxes client. Even though they're not using the software, they still qualify. MyFreeTaxes partners are people from representatives from Vita programs. So like if, I don't know who runs the Vita program in San Diego, but if it were a United Way, or they're probably called like the Earned Income Credit Coalition, or sometimes they have a name like Cash with a $ through it, or Accountability, or Real Sense. It's snappy, jazzy terms that make you feel like you're saving money. If they're from any one of those organizations, then they qualify as a partner. And the reason that partners will contact us is that they might be at a VitaSite helping somebody get through their tax return while they're doing MyFreeTaxes, and they're assisting that person. And they might have a question about how to use the software while they're helping that person get through the software. We also might get contacted by partners who are trying to get information about the MyFreeTaxes partnership, or like how to promote it or how to get marketing materials and stuff like that. So people who are actually using our software, VitaSite referrals, and MyFreeTaxes partners, they would all qualify as a MyFreeTaxes client. and then you would proceed to assist all of those people. People that you would not proceed to assist would be people who are using another software program, people who are using paper forms. And if this were the case, if they were not a MyFreeTaxes client, then the rest of this is not applicable. You can also see here a new field called Agent Did Not Collect. This appears in every single field right up on top of the Not Applicable field, because we noticed in previous years that there are just some situations where you forget to ask a question, or you didn't firmly establish whether this person was a MyFreeTaxes client. So we just wanted to add that option to your drop-down list so you could create as accurate an intake form as possible. It's totally fine if you forgot, as long as you don't get in the habit of forgetting, 20 times a day. We would rather you be honest about what happened than to just randomly pick something. So that's what Agent Did Not Collect means. You guys with me so far? Any questions?
Oh, we're with you.
Okay. So the next major category to determine who you're handling here is client status. And I touched on this a few minutes back, where you're trying to determine whether this is the first time they're contacting us this year. And by the way, I haven't updated this intake form yet, so you're going to see a lot of references to 2014, 2015. Just disregard all that. It'll be fixed by the time we start. So the script here is this your first time contacting the helpline in 2016? And if they say yes, then there's your flag to try and capture demographic data. If they say no, I called you yesterday, then everything else is going to be NA. If you never ask that question, then you put Agent Did Not Collect. And then if you don't need to ask the question, because they're either a no data contact and you're just trying to get this thing filled out, or because they're a non-MFT client, you had a no for up here, or because they're a partner. And the reason a partner falls into these other two categories that, for every other reason are just disqualifications. We're not trying to saddle partners with any extra work. If they're on site helping somebody get their taxes done, we're not going to stop and say, by the way, would you mind answering a few demographic questions to help us further reach out to all of the people who qualify for the service? You just want to help them, get them the help that they need, and send them along their way. So the partners are kind of exempt from having to answer these demographic questions. So that's why they would fall into the not applicable category. So if I wanted to get myself over here, if I had a client who called me for the first time in 2016, let's actually say that they're calling me for a VitaSite referral, because a lot of the first calls you're going to take when you start taking calls are going to be VitaSite referrals. People contact us a lot in early January for locations because most of those people are low-income callers who are aware of the VITA program, and they know they qualify for the earned income credit, and they're trying to get that credit as quickly as humanly possible because it might get them through the rest of the year. So they're calling us for information about those sites. They don't want to use MyFreeTaxes, and that's totally fine if they don't want to. We should encourage them to try it, but some of them might not even have that as an option. They might not have broadband internet. They might not have a computer. So I'm going to fill out the rest of this form like I'm assisting somebody who's looking for a VITA site. I'm going to change this to first-time caller, and I'm going to put this back to yes, proceed to assist. The rest of these fields are not mandatory. Username is the client's H&R Block username. You very, very rarely ever have to ask that of somebody. I would only ask that question of somebody if they're having really serious technical issues, and you just need a place to write down their username, because the username for the H&R Block software, that's like the one identifying unique feature of every single account. Otherwise, there's no reason to ask that question. Same for the email address. I only like to fill this field out if I'm handling an email contact. I will copy and paste that address into this field, but you can see it's not mandatory, so don't worry about it. Same with phone number. Again, the city, county, state information is populated based off of the zip code entered. You can edit over this, but if I were going to try to change it, I would just go back up to the zip field and change the zip. There's a comment section here. That is mandatory. We want you to leave some kind of narrative of the call or the chat, and you should try to be as descriptive as possible. Don't just write the word tax or, I help this person in this field. If somebody called for a VitaSite referral, you would say, caller lives in San Diego looking for a VitaSites nearby, asked if they wanted to use My Free Taxes, said they don't have a computer, something like that. Something that just, very concisely sums up the entire call. If you leave it blank, you're not going to be able to save the intake form, so you have to put something there. All right, so the contact details section has been completely filled out. Actually, I should have typed that in while I was telling you that. I was looking for VitaSite in San Diego area. Does not have a computer. All right. So before you have two different ways of trying to ask these people these demographic questions, and if you haven't worked in a call center before, or you haven't had to ask questions like these of clients, it might seem a little intrusive at first because some of these questions are kind of personal, but keep in mind that most of the people that you assist are very, very happy to get your assistance, and usually they're willing to share the information. It's totally optional, but we want to make a concerted effort to capture this demographic information from everybody. And there's some brief instructions up here. So you must attempt to collect demographics from all first-time clients. And then here's your script. Would you mind taking a brief demographic survey to help us better determine whether we're reaching out to everyone who qualifies for this service? Now you can, if you want to get in the habit of asking these questions right up front, that's totally fine. The way I do it personally is I think I'm pretty confident that I can capture most of this information throughout the course of the call in a conversational manner. So that's the way I do it. But if right off the bat, if you just want to make sure that you're at least making, you're asking that question, then this is definitely the procedure that you want to follow. And then I just added this actually today. If you're assisting a non-partner who has contacted the helpline on behalf of someone else, and the perfect example is if someone's mom called in and the kid's, at his first year of college and his mom is trying to do his taxes for him, you want to get the kid's demographic data. Even though the mom is calling the helpline, the kid's the one whose taxes are getting done. So that's just keep in the back of your mind that you're trying to get the demographic information from the person who's actually using the My Free Taxes software to do their return. I could have added another field where you're calling for yourself or on behalf of someone else, but there's already too many fields in here, so I'm going to try and see if we can get it done this way. And then again, select not applicable for returning clients, partners, non-My Free Taxes clients, meaning people who are like using paper forms or whatever, no data contacts, or standard contacts that ended prematurely. So if you did make contact with somebody, you chose standard up here because you greeted someone and you got their zip code and you got their name, but then for whatever reason the call dropped, then you can go ahead and use not applicable. So here are the questions. You got referral source. How did you hear about My Free Taxes? That's pretty easy. Most people are willing to answer that question. I'm not going to go over each of these because, again, every single one of these is described in detail up here. So if I wanted to find out what the definition of referral source each field is, it's right here. Looks like I need to add a 211 referral source, but that one's probably the easiest to select. So back to the intake form. The next field is titled Employer Name, and you can see that it's not mandatory. That's because up here, the referral source is not always going to be employer. The reason that we put employer name in here, though, is that, as you've probably already been told, this whole project is being funded by Walmart, and we had a lot of Walmart employees call us over the past few years. So we thought it would be good to try and capture that information just to report back to Walmart that their employees are using this service. This year, United Way is teaming up with a lot more large employers all across the country. So this might be a more popular field when you take a call. If somebody says they found out about it through their job, try to get the name of their job and try to spell it correctly. But if they found out about it through, they Googled it, then you can leave this blank. Gender is pretty self-explanatory. I'll select female. Race or ethnicity, this is probably the most sensitive question to ask. But again, I haven't ever really experienced anybody who got mad about me asking that. What is your primary race or ethnicity is usually not intrusive enough for somebody to answer the question. And then all the major ethnicities are covered here. If they're multiracial, you can select that. If they refused, you can put that there. If they say they're not comfortable answering that question, that's totally fine. And then your agent did not collect, not applicable. I'll just select African American since it's at the top of the list. Taxpayer age, this is a numerical field. So I'll just say she's 36. I think that it allows you to enter numbers from 0 to, or maybe 19 to like 110 or something like that. Although when I was running reports last year, I did see more numbers show up here and a couple like H's and exclamation points. So I guess it is possible for incorrect characters to be saved in this field. So just make sure, again, that when you're taking your time going through this, verify the caller's age and verify that you typed in the correct age in this field. Filing status, this is a pretty easy question to ask. This is probably the best example of something that you can get conversationally from someone, because you're almost always going to ask a caller what their filing status is when they're calling for help with their tax return. VitaSite referrals might be the lone exception, because most people who, not most, but a lot of people who are looking for a VitaSite, don't really want anything to do with their tax return. They just want someone to do it for them. So they might not know what filing status is, and there's an option for that. But most people know. This is a new field this year. I just put this in today, veteran status. Are you a veteran or active duty military? So it's either yes or no, agent did not collect. And again, this would be for the taxpayer. So if mom is calling in for her kid because he just joined the Army, then the answer would be yes. Mom is not a veteran or active duty military, but her kid is. And he's a male. Employment status. This is you can select more than one option in this field. You're asking the caller what their employment status was in 2014, or I'm sorry, 2015. So they may have had a full-time job all year. They may have been disabled since 5 years ago, but they may also have been a student and a part-time worker. So you can choose as many options as you want here. I just wouldn't choose, agent did not collect and not applicable at the same time. It's one or the other, or refused. I'm going to say that she's a student, and I'm just realizing now that I'm probably going to have to add either add another field for veteran military status, or yeah, I'm probably going to have to do that, even though it's totally redundant. Okay, I'm just going to leave student here, though, just for the sake of getting through this. And then health insurance status. This one's kind of tricky to ask, but if you this one you might have to ask a couple times just to get the right answer from somebody, but the objective is to understand whether they had health insurance at any time last year or this year, 2015, and then kind of pick the right time frame that they had it. So if they had it all year, then that's great. That's the easiest answer. Started year without it, but ended with it. So that means they picked up insurance at some point in 2015. Or they had it within 2015. Maybe in January they were uninsured, but then they got insurance, but then they lost it or stopped paying for it in October. Then that would be the answer. Started year with, ended without. It's the opposite of number 2 there. Or they were totally uninsured at during the entire year. Again, there's more instructions on this field in the tab up top. So that's all of your demographic questions. If this were a VITA call, let me see if I actually have a VITA link here. What you could do is, after taking all those demographics down, you would you can either save the link to the search tool on your browser, or you can just click the link that I put in here. Actually, this is for AARP. Here's the VITA site locator. Right now, there are not all of the VITA sites information has been posted to the IRS's search tool. So it's all the more important to refer these callers to 211 right off, or in the earlier part of the season, because I'm sure the 211 in San Diego has way more information than the VITA site locator tool does. Most of the larger 211s do. Some might not, but it's better than giving them one site that's, there's more. I know that there are more VITA sites. They just haven't submitted their information yet. The AARP tool, we don't use this one as frequently, but we did get contacted a couple years ago from a representative from ARP who wanted us to start referring people to it. So it doesn't hurt to look up sites on their locator tool as well. It's not active though, so I'm going to close that. But you can see I just used another tab for information, and there's information here about VITA, just basic information about VITA, how to take a VITA call. VITA and My Free Taxes gives like a little description of how we're related to the VITA program, because we do have some kind of relationship with them. And then here's a very brief description about 211, but you're in a 211 right now, so I'm sure they can tell you way more about it than my dinky little paragraph can. So going back to the intake form, and you can see just to toggle back and forth from the intake form to these tabs, it's fine to do that. You want to stay away from this orange tab up here though, because if I clicked on, and again, I don't even know if you have access to the reports and dashboard, but if I clicked on home, all of the information that I already entered here would be gone, which is horrible, but it happens, so it's not the end of the world if it does happen, but you want to stay away from this orange tab. These tabs down here are fine. Just stay away from the orange while you're in an active contact. So we've covered the main data entry fields. We gave the referral, the VITA site referrals. So the last thing you want to do with this particular caller is tag the call with a quote-unquote referral. This was unfortunately the easiest way that I could add unlimited amounts of tax topics for us to use to log why people contacted us. It looks kind of messy at first glance, but you'll get used to it. There's two different ways that you can search for the right reason why somebody called us. One is you just click on referral search and you search by keyword. So if somebody were calling me for a VITA site, I would type in the word VITA. Here's VITA site referral. I select it. It's there for me to save the form. If I could also search for the referral and click on the link, and it opens up an additional a little bit more information about VitaSite requirements. Hopefully this is, and here's the link also to the VitaSite locator tool. I think you should get in the habit of opening up this link with every single referral that you're trying to make. And referral is not really the right word to use, but it's the only word that kind of fits this setup. So the reason I'm telling you to open up the link every single time is because as the season goes on, I'm going to add more information to each one of these. And I think this is also where I'm going to add links to screenshots to help you use the software and fill out specific sections of the software. I don't know how much exposure you've had to the H&R Block software yet, but there are a few screens where a lot of people get stuck on, specifically the education credits section. Schedule C is a big one where people need assistance with, Schedule A sometimes. So if I'm able to add a link here that would open up just a document, a Word doc with a whole bunch of screenshots of the software that you're trying to help people get through, I think that'll help you on your job from day to day. So you always just want to try and open this up, see if anything's different. I'll put out notices telling everybody if I did change anything, but it doesn't hurt to just click it once, take a look at it, and see if anything has changed. The other way that you can access these referrals is by the fast tracks. These are numbered 1 through 22 currently, and the reason I numbered them is because the first half at least follows the basic flow of the H&R Block software. So if you look up at the top, the first section is called H&R Block Account Access, and it's all about how to get to the software and create an account. So access existing account, create account, website not loading, filing on mobile device, anything that's related to just getting inside the H&R Block software, there are links to in this fast track. You can, if you typed in the right keyword, you could access any of these referrals up in the referral search, but in most cases it's easier to just find the right fast track and get to the topic that way. And there are certain topics that kind of span 2 different fast track subjects, so you might see the same topic repeated in different fast tracks. But below H&R Block Access you have overview sections, so that's the first big tab on the software. And then the federal section is broken down into the main parts of the 1040 form. These are also the little blue circles that you see across the top of the screen. So it goes personal information. So if I click on income, here's all the different types of income, and it's alphabetized inside the fast track. They all start with the prefix income. It's just a way of an easier way to catalog everything in the administrative settings. So W-2 income is going to be down at the bottom here, income, wages, salaries, and tips. So you would select this term if you were actually assisting somebody in the H&R Block software as they're trying to enter their W-2 information. After you get past the state section, the rest of this is related to just other different reasons why people contact us. So state section, file section has subjects related to like e-filing and viewing a copy of your return. Post-filing questions would are for people who contact us, wondering whether a refund is or their return's been rejected. Key codes we'll go over in just a minute because that's kind of its own special topic. Vita and other referrals, so this is where I would have found the VitaSite referral that I searched for by keyword. No data contacts. This is going back to the whole not being able to get around the fact that every single field has to be filled out. This section is mandatory as well. So for a no data contact, even if you've classified the contact up in the upper section as a no data, you still have to tag it down here as a no data. So these are all the different types of no data contacts. If it were a phone call, I would just select that right there, and you can see that more fields are filled out up here. Special populations is for they're one of our main partners over the last few years has been the National Disability Institute, and they work with a lot of deaf clients, Spanish callers, deceased taxpayers. It's just different groups of people that their tax returns might not be necessarily different from another taxpayer's return, but we're just trying to capture information. Like we're trying to just understand that those people have called us and keep count of that. If we were contacted by 50 more deaf taxpayers this year than last year, that's pretty significant, and we could let NDI know that they're reaching out to the right people and that we're helping their target population. Taxpayer assistance this has links to other referrals you can make to people who you might not be able to help. So if somebody has a tax situation that's just way out of our scope of service, like they have a business with employees, there's some information about professional taxpayer associations or tax professional associations, the taxpayer advocate for people who have like long-term delinquencies with the IRS, low-income taxpayer clinics, and these referrals actually do have information in them about what these organizations do to help their clients, and there should also be a contact number in here, or at the very least a link to a URL with contact information. The rest of this, if you just open up each one of these fast tracks and go through them one by one, you can. This looks like a lot more than it actually is, but I would say there's probably only maybe 60 or 70 total referrals in this program. So it's not a lot. You can definitely get to all of them in a couple of days and read through them all. So let me stop here. Any questions?
No.
Okay. One more important task that you're going to find yourself completing regularly in VisionLink is key codes. The procedure that everybody needs to follow if they want to qualify for free tax filing is they go to myfreetaxes.com and they click on this orange File for Free button, and it should load the H&R Block software in a new window. There's kind of like a delay here where they want you to read all this information about H&R Block, and then eventually, hopefully in like a second or two, it'll load the H&R Block login screen. We get a lot of people over the course of tax season who, for whatever reason, did not follow this procedure, or they kind of got lost as they were going through this procedure, and they've landed on a different version of H&R Block software that has ended up charging them a fee. So they've gotten into this program, they've gone to this link, they've clicked on the File for Free button, they've gotten to the H&R Block software, they've signed in, and they've entered an hour's worth of tax information, and then they get to the file screen, and it tells them to cough up $80 for a federal and a state tax return. If these people call us and complain about that, and if you have screened them to determine that they did in fact follow the right steps to qualify for free tax filing, and the steps are, or the only qualifiers are, you have to have $62,000 or less in income. You can't have any foreign accounts or trusts, so no Swiss bank accounts. And you have to have an email address. I mean, that's pretty much all that you need to get through that software program, the H&R Block. If you screen them and make sure that they didn't take any unnecessary steps, or they didn't access the wrong account, then you can give them a key code to bypass that fee. So this is where you would generate the key code. So the first question you want to ask somebody if they're being charged is that they access the H&R Block account by going to myfreetaxes.com and clicking on the File for Free button. And if they actually did go to myfreetaxes.com, you would put that and move on to the next question. And once again, there are more detailed instructions on how to distribute a key code up here in the tabs. There are tips on the right questions to ask people. There's an explanation, more detailed explanation about why people get charged, because it's a little bit more complex than I'm telling you right now. But you have plenty of time to read through this. So going back to the qualifying questions, the next question you want to ask is if what is the name of the H&R Block software package that they see inside their account. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So when somebody logs in correctly and creates an account the correct way in the H&R Block software, they should see the MyFreeTaxes logo up here, and they should be in the basic product. So if somebody calls you and says, I got charged $90, you would, this second question is, what H&R Block package do you see in the upper left of your screen right here? There's 3 other packages. There's free, which is actually not free, so that's a little confusing. There is deluxe, and there's premium. And all of those packages charge a different fee for filing. Free probably gets you through the federal return, but might charge you for the state return. Our deal with H&R Block, they've supported the MyFreeTaxes program by giving us access to the basic product. So this MyFreeTaxes version of H&R Block's basic software was customized for us, and the way that you make it free is by following those instructions, going here, creating an account, or logging into an account that you created previously. So if they see anything else up here, if they see premium, deluxe, or free, they're in the wrong product, and they don't qualify for a key code. I'm going to say they're in basic because I want to show you what happens when you generate a code. Logo, you also want to ask what they see in the upper left corner. So up here we see the MyFreeTaxes logo. It's cut off for some reason, but hopefully it'll be fully featured when the tax season starts up. The other possible logo that they would see in the upper left there is the H&R Block logo. So if they're in the wrong product, they're going to see that green block, you know, the corporate logo of H&R Block. And again, that's another reason that they would not qualify for a key code. And here are the kind of clues as to what to offer up to them as a clue as to what they should be looking at. So if you see them, when you ask somebody what logo do you see in the upper left corner, they might say, what are you talking about? You can ask them, do you see the MyFreeTaxes logo and it's on a white banner? Or do you see the H&R Block logo and it's a green box? They'll know what you're talking about if you ask them one of those 2 questions. Adjusted gross income, this has to be changed. It'll be changed to $62,000 or less. If their AGI is over $62,000, then again, they don't qualify. You have to have $62,000 or less in AGI. That's household AGI. So if it's a married couple, that's got to be both of their incomes put together. Reason for fee is more of a data collection question. None of these will disqualify somebody from getting a key code. It just helps me understand why people are being charged a key code. It's a pretty big clue as to what happened to this person to be charged. I'm just going to say state returns for this one because that's the most common reason. And then H&R Block service fee, you just want to ask them what the fee was that they're looking at. If they were charged one state for $36.99, you're going to choose that. And then the software will automatically tell you that this person qualifies for a key code. And then the instructions read, click on the key code tab above. So you go up here and there's a new tab up here titled Key Code. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to check this box, and then I have to save this page. Now, I might not have any key codes loaded into the program right now, so I might not be able to get through an entire demo with this, but let's see if I actually was able to generate one. So you can see I'm back on the intake form. I have to go back to the key code tab, and here's my key code. It's really, really confusing, but I promise after you do it like 2 or 3 times, you'll know how to do it every time. And this, again, this goes back to, like, you know, not being able to have some kind of trigger function that just allows you to move forward in the form. You have to go through all these little steps, these hoops, to save repeatedly to get to what you need. So what I've done by following those instructions is generating this key code. It's a 10-digit alphanumeric code. The caller or the taxpayer, if they're experiencing a fee, the fee screen will have a little link at the bottom of it that reads, "I have a key code." You just tell them to click on that link, and then you give them this code verbally. They type it in, and all of their fees should be wiped out. Going back to the client intake form, again, there's a reason for contact. If you notice also, the two referrals that I saved earlier, they're gone. They're actually down here. They've been saved and hidden by VisionLink. But I'm going to add key code distribution because I just gave a key code out. And there's a key code fast track, so that's probably the fastest way to get there. I actually gave them the key code, so I'm going to select this one, but there's 2 other reasons that are kind of related to a key code that are in this section. You can see that the key code's been selected for saving. I'm going to save this intake form one more time, and I'm done. I've assisted my caller. I've captured all their demographics. I've tagged the call. So I have nothing more to do, and you can see down here, I have 3 referrals now, including the key code. I have nothing more to do with this particular intake form, so I'm going to close the tab because I still have this home page open, and after my call ends, I'm going to make myself available to take another call, and I'm going to get another screen pop when I take that next call, so I want to make sure that I don't have that previous intake form open and get confused. Speaking of confusion, one more confusing thing about the intake form is when I had to go through that whole key code process, it saved the form for me because it needed to save it to generate a key code. Sometimes you might fill out an intake form, but forget to fill one thing out. Like let's say that the person you call the person called and you gave them a VitalSite referral, and you referred them to 211, but you forgot to indicate that you referred them to 211, like I just did. I'm just randomly selecting. I'm just randomly filling these fields out so I can get to where I want to get to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I have all this filled out up here, and I refer them to a VitalSite. I save my form. And you can see that the VitalSite's been saved down here. My example is not going to work, so let me just forget about the 211 referral. Let's say that I also need to give this person a key code, which I would never do if somebody's getting referred to a VitalSite, but let's just pretend that I had to do that anyway. If I filled all this out and tried to get back up here to save that form again with that new key code tab, it would tell me that I couldn't do that because the form's already been saved and this section is empty once again. So whenever you're in that situation where it's telling you that you can't save your intake form because there's no referrals in the referral section, but you've made all your referrals and you're just trying to either get to the key code or you just want to save the form one more time, there is a kind of like a dummy referral reason, and it is called intake form resave, and it's just a way to fill this field out to be able to save it one more time. And I think that is down here in the bottom of the intake form instructions. If not, I will add it. I think that's all I have to say about VisionLink. Do you guys have any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Do you have any questions about anything else about this project? Is there anything you're still confused about?
No.
I think they're good, Doug.
Simple enough. Well, we'll have a little bit more training. Do you guys know your schedule yet? Are you working on Monday?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure I'll be in contact with everybody before we launch, and your hours are probably going to be a little bit into the day, so you won't be there right when we start at 10 a.m., right?
Right. I think we've got like 12:30 start times on a lot of the days, but I'll actually forward you the email of the schedule times we have for them.
Okay. Well, I recorded this webinar, so I will. I'll throw it up on YouTube and post a link to it somewhere in one of these tabs in VisionLink in case you want to watch it again. But like I said, most of what I spoke about is somewhere. It's in some of these tabs. Most of the information is stored in this content here. Oh, that reminds me. One more thing. So all through the tax season, I will add more content to these tabs. If something, there's some huge delay with refunds, or the My Free Taxes partnership has released some kind of important information, and we're going to get a lot of calls from people about it. I'll add the information to the appropriate section, and then I'll change the color of the tab. I usually make it green. It's like a bright nuclear green to kind of grab your attention when you log into the software for the first time. That's just what that's all about. In case that you see that, it's just kind of like an arrow pointing to something that I think you should look at.
Perfect.
Okay.
We're good.
I guess that's it. Yeah.
All right, Todd, thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
All righty.
Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.